I'm John Harwood with the New York Times and CNBC here at Hinkle Fieldhouse on the campus of Butler University in Indianapolis, the day of crucial primaries in the Democratic race. Both Indiana and North Carolina will go to the polls. Almost 200 delegates at stake in the race. Barack Obama remains the front runner. He's within 300 delegates of locking up the Democratic nomination, but Hillary Clinton still has a chance, if she can perform very well in these and the states to follow over the next several weeks, to change the dynamics of the race, convince some of those uncommitted superdelegates that she is the stronger candidate in November. Late polls show her drawing closer to Barack Obama, who leads in North Carolina, but building a lead of her own in the state of Indiana. I want to bring in John Broder of the New York Times, who's been with the Hillary Clinton campaign over the last several days. John, what's the feel with Hillary Clinton as she rolls toward Election Day?
Well, it's hard to imagine that you're looking at a candidate who's trailing in pledged delegates, who's trailing in popular vote, because she's running like a front runner, but she's running hard. She's drawing decent-sized crowds. They're very enthusiastic, and she's drawing as much energy from them as they from her.
She seems to be having a better time at this point in the race. She's been down, she's fighting back. What is the sense of how Hillary Clinton is enjoying this phase? Because there were points early in the campaign where she didn't seem to be having a great time on the campaign trail.
Well, certainly her loss in Iowa came as a shock. The performance on Super Tuesday, which was lower than everybody's expectations, including hers, really set her back. But she came roaring back in Ohio and Texas, really put herself back in the game. And like her husband, Bill, she seems to perform best when her back's against the wall.
Do you get a sense from the crowds or from other people that you talk to of exactly why she seems to be coming back, certainly in Indiana, where we started out tied? Is it Jeremiah Wright? Is it this debate over the gas tax holiday where he's against it, she's for it?
Those two factors are clearly important. I think Jeremiah Wright's performance recently in Washington gave a lot of voters pause, even supporters of Barack Obama, that maybe we don't know as much about this phenom as we thought we did. Hillary Clinton's gas tax holiday, in which the oil companies would essentially pay the 18 cents a gallon that Americans pay in federal gasoline taxes over the summer, is definitely very popular with voters, even though it's been not going anywhere in Congress,
right.
And economists generally oppose it. But she's also enjoying a benefit from her own feistiness out on the campaign trail. She's a fighter. She's doing well under very difficult circumstances, and people respect that.
Seems like it's been a while since we've talked about mistakes by Bill Clinton. He seems to be connecting with some of these rural audiences. Is that a big asset for her?
It's a huge asset for her. Whether that translates into enough votes, particularly in North Carolina, where he's been working the small towns very heavily, we won't know until tonight, but we will know tonight. He's done probably 50 events in the state of Indiana, mostly in the smaller towns, and these are places where she runs up big margins in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio, and we expect her to here too.
John, one of the things that we've seen in the exit polls throughout the primary campaign, Barack Obama's done better with secular voters. You've spent some time with the guy in charge of the Hillary Clinton campaign's outreach to religiously minded Democrats. Tell me about how effective he's been, what sort of audience he's finding.
Well, this is a fellow named Bernd Strider. He's from a small town in Mississippi. He's been helping the Democrats for the last 8 or 9 years, particularly in Congress, try to connect with religious voters, those so-called values voters that the Republicans have grabbed away from the Democrats over the last couple of decades. And he seems to be doing quite a good job in connecting, particularly in some of these small towns in the rural South. He seeks out pastors and small church leaders and talks to them and tries to bring their flocks in, get them registered to vote for a Democrat, and particularly for Hillary Clinton. It seems to be working. Again, the numbers, it's hard to tell.
Does Obama have a comparable effort?
Obama has a comparable effort, and he too has a great appeal to the faith voter. However, the Jeremiah Wright thing makes him feel a little bit out of the mainstream, that he comes out of a black religious tradition rather than an American, more broadly based church tradition. He has a director of religious outreach too, but the effort isn't quite as obvious as hers.
You mentioned black voters. Of course, that's been a tremendous strength for Barack Obama in state after state. He's getting 80 to 90% of the African American vote. One of the questions about North Carolina and whether Hillary Clinton could actually upset Barack Obama is, can he cut into the African American vote, which is very large in North Carolina, much larger than here in Indiana? Do we see any signs of that?
Signs that Hillary is
No, I'm sorry, that Hillary Clinton is making progress with African American voters as she makes progress with other groups in the electorate.
I'm not sure that that's been measured in the polls yet, but there's sort of a feeling on the ground. Yesterday I went to 2 events of Hillary's, and the crowds were surprisingly racially mixed. I would say maybe no more than 10 or 15% African American, but that's more than you've been seeing in many of these other states. You seldom saw a black voter in Ohio at a Hillary Clinton rally, at a Pennsylvania Hillary Clinton rally, even here in Indiana. But in North Carolina, where they comprise something close to 40% of the electorate, you're seeing some of them at least drifting over to take a look at what she's saying.
John, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
The polls are already open. They open at 6. They will close at 6 p.m. Eastern Time in most of Indiana, which means we'll get a fairly early result from the Indiana voting tonight. North Carolina results will come in a little bit later. We'll keep you posted on nytimes.com.